everyone. So the purpose of this video is to talk about valence electrons and ions, and that will later help us understand patterns on the periodic table. But for now, we need to just define some really basic terms here. So first thing we're going to write down is this word valence. So we talk about valence electrons. So atoms have energy levels. So I drew here a really basic picture of a lithium atom. These circles around the nucleus, these are called energy levels. So the valence electrons are the electrons in the outermost energy level. Okay, so valence electrons are the electrons in the outermost energy level. So this lithium atom has 3 electrons, but it only has 1 valence electron. This electron right here in this outer circle is a valence electron because the valence electrons are the electrons in the outer energy level. Okay, so I want to show you something with the periodic table. So if we look at lithium, see how it's right here in this first column? It has 1 valence electron. Now I want to look at a couple of other elements and their valence electrons. So let's now look at beryllium. Beryllium is in the second column. It looks like this. So if we were to count the number of valence electrons beryllium has, we would say it has 2 valence electrons. I'm going to abbreviate VE. So lithium just had 1. Beryllium has 2. This is boron. Boron is number 5 on the periodic table. So it's up here. And look how many valence electrons it has. It has 3. So hopefully you're seeing a pattern here. The column on the periodic table can tell you how many valence electrons an element has. So everything in this first column right here is going to have 1 valence electron. Everything in this column is going to have 2. We skip over the transition metals. We don't really talk about valence electrons for them. This column is going to have 3 valence electrons, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's a diagram in your book on page 91 that shows this. Shows the valence electrons for all of these different elements. Okay, so super easy to figure out the number of valence electrons for different elements. Let's do just a few examples. See if you can figure out the number of valence electrons. So we're going to look at magnesium. We're going to look at oxygen, phosphorus, and let's look at gallium. Okay, so look over here at our periodic table. Magnesium is right here. It's in the second column. So it's going to have 2 valence electrons. Oxygen is right here, so it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 valence electrons. Phosphorus is right here, so it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 valence electrons. And lastly, gallium is going to have 1, 2, 3 valence electrons. So hopefully you can see what you need to do to figure out the number of valence electrons in an element. So let's talk about these columns on the periodic table. These vertical columns, there's a couple things we call them in chemistry. We call them either groups or families. So I'm going to write that down here. A group or a family, so you need to know both those words. Those are the vertical columns on the periodic table. Okay, now this next sentence is very important, and we're going to learn a lot more about this probably next time or the time after that. Elements in the same family have the same number of valence electrons, so they react similarly. Okay, so all of the elements in this first column, they are all going to react in similar ways to each other. Same thing with all the elements in the second column. And that is because all the elements in the first column have the same number of valence electrons. So that is very important. Now,